Recording has started. So today we want to look at UseEffect. So in our last class, we looked at how to fetch data. When you click on this button, we use this axios to fetch a data and we set it as the value of our state. So today's class, we're going to look at UseEffect. UseEffects are used for side effects. Side effects are things that are not the primary law of React. The primary work of React deals with UI display. That's the primary work of React. Now, something like fetching data in local storage, fetching data at an endpoint like this, all of these are side effects. They are side effects. So let's see how you can make use of UseEffect to do this. Now, UseEffect has three laws. Number one, the first law is maybe, okay, good. When I run this on the browser, this is the HTML part, right?
Yes.
So if I want to do something, immediately after this HTML part is rendered on the screen, immediately this is being mounted. We call this mount. When you display this HTML part, we call it mounted. So immediately it is mounted on the screen. You want to do something, then you make use of UseEffect for that. Now, presently, the way we have our code presently is that when I click on this button, it will fetch a data and display the name.
Yes.
But when I get to the screen, let me refresh. I'll refresh now. When I get to the screen, nothing is being displayed. So maybe I want to do this. Now, when I get to this page, immediately I get there, immediately it renders this. Then quickly fetch a data for me. Do you understand?
Yes.
So I can make use of UseEffects for that. I can say UseEffect. UseEffect is part of the hooks. So you say UseEffect, you import it. This is going to auto import it for me. Auto UseEffect. This UseEffect is a function, so you trigger it. It takes two arguments. The first is a callback, while the second is an array. So this is a callback, and this is an array. So whatever you want to do, immediately your component is mounted on the screen. You put it inside this UseEffect. So immediately the page loads. I want to display, maybe I want the value of this user now, this user. I want it to be, let's say, Taye. So immediately the page loads. Let me just set this user as Taye. I can now say set user Taye, like this. So when I get to the browser, you see it's there, Taye. So immediately the page loads, it will quickly set it for me. Do you have any question?
No, sir. Okay. No, sir.
Let's move on. Now, but instead of setting Taye, I want you to go to this URL and fetch this data for me. So get the first person and fetch the data for me. So I'll copy this and come here. In fact, I want to copy. We need all of these things.
But sir,
yes,
sir, please. Sir, before then. Okay. Sir, you said something that you cannot use UseEffect without putting this dependency, empty array.
If you are not,
that is not possible, right?
If you are not going to put any dependency, then it means you can as well decide not to make use of UseEffect. Do you understand?
Okay.
You can as well not make use of UseEffect.
Okay.
So let's move on. Next is this. You want to go to this URL, fetch this data, and set it, whatever you fetch now, set it as the value of the name of the user. Set it as the value of this user.
The user.
So let me just make this copy all of this, paste it here. But now, there's a problem. You shouldn't use awaits inside a function that is not an asynchronous function. So normally we ought to do like this,
Yes.
but then there's an issue. This use effects, use effect takes two arguments. The first is a callback. The second is an array. This callback,
an array.
Good. This callback should not be an asynchronous function. This callback should not be an asynchronous function. So meaning that if I make this asynchronous, it shouldn't be. This callback should not be an asynchronous function.
Okay.
Although it has solved the problem for this, but it's violating something else. I even expect this to throw back an error. Let me see if it's
okay.
Okay, compiled with this. Okay, maybe just turn in one. Okay, use effect must not return anything besides a function, which is used for cleaning up.
Okay.
So, it looks like you wrote this or returned the promise. That's what you are just doing. Okay, instead, write this async function side, blah, 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 blah. Okay. So, this callback should not be an asynchronous function. How then do we make use of this await inside this use effect? And remember, in order to make use of awaits, it needs to be a sync function.
A sync function.
So what you're going to do now is this. We remove this. I've cut it. Create a new function inside this use effect. I can call it, maybe call data. So we created a function here called cut data. We can now paste this here. So this can be an asynchronous function. Do you understand?
Okay.
So all of this, they are inside these use effects. So we created a function called, okay.
So that simply means you created another function inside a callback.
Yes, sir.
Okay, sir.
So we created this function inside this place.
Yes.
Next is, remember, a function will not be triggered except you call on it.
Yes.
So let's now call on this call data.
Call data.
We now say call data like this. So notice it wants to run this use effect. If you call on this call data, so this one will now be the one to call on this place. Do you understand?
Yes, boss.
Okay. So when we get to the screen now, you see the results. Let me refresh this. So can you see it on the screen?
Okay. Yes, that's the first name.
Yes, the first, because this is one. Because this is one.
Yes.
If this is 2 to fetch the second one, let's leave it as 1 for now. Can we move on?
But, sir.
Alright, so you can ask your question.
Sir, in the return.
Okay.
So I was thinking maybe you put user in a curly bracket.
Which one? Which return?
So let's go to return. So come down. So can you come down?
Yes, sir.
Okay. It's there. Yes, this one. Yes.
Is the one
is there? Okay.
The one displaying this name, but.
Yes.
Can we proceed now?
So let's continue.
All right, sir.
Yes, sir.
So next thing is this. We want this user to be dynamic, not just one. I want to be able to fetch a second user because the way it is it only fetch one user. I can't change this to fetch the second user. I can't change this to fetch the third user. Or nothing like that. So we want it to be dynamic. So let's do that together. So we can create an input for users to type a number. We can even make it input type number. Type equals to number. Then we can now say maybe let's user ID set user ID use stats. So on input, set user ID. So as the user types inside this place, the value of this user
Yes.
ID becomes whatever the user types here. So when the user clicks on this button, you can make a request to this URL and fetch it. Instead of saying this is /1, we will now say user
$sign.
Yeah. Change this to backtick.
Yes.
User ID. What's the backtick?
Okay.
Okay. So with this now, when the user clicks on this button, it will fetch this based on the user ID. Any questions, sir?
No, sir.
Okay. Let's move on. Let's check it out. So I'll make this maybe 4. Click on this button. Maybe
Wow.
5.
Wow.
Click on this button. So,
yes. Wow. So it's changing.
Okay, let's move on. Now remember I said you can make use of your use effect for at least 3 things. The first is this. When the page loads, when it is mounted on the screen, immediately you want to maybe do a side effect. You want to maybe make an API call or anything. That's what we just did here. If you want to do anything, immediately the page loads, then you bring it, you can do that inside your use effect, and that's what we just did here. So when these components mount on the screen, it will do whatever is inside this use effect.
The use effects.
That is one purpose of use effect. Now,
okay.
Another purpose of use effect is this. You can use it to track a state or a props. You can use effect to track the changes in a state or a props, such that if the value of a state or the value of a prop changes, you want to run a side effect. I come again.
Okay.
If the value of a state or a prop should change, you want to run a side effect. Then you can also make use of use effect for that. So what you're going to do is this. Presently, what we are doing is when this ID changes, you want to make a request to the URL. Do you understand?
Yes, sir.
When this value changes, or this user ID, so when it's changed, you want to make a request to a URL. That's the next thing we want to do now.
Okay, so that value is still state.
Yes, this state. I'm talking. Yes.
Yes, yes.
When this state changes, so I can set the default value to be 1, so that at least by default, let me comment out this fetch data. I'll comment out this fetch data, and in fact, even this button, we can remove it for now. So let's see what happens there. So I said when the value of a state changes, you want to use effects to run some codes. So I can say that whenever user ID, that becomes the dependency. Use effects.
Yes.
If it's an empty array, it means it will only run it when it mounts on the screen.
And it will be once.
Yes, it will be once. Yes. But when it has a dependency like this, it will run when it mounts on the screen, and also when the value of this dependency changes. I come again. When you put anything here like this, a dependency here like this, it will run. The code inside this effect will run first when it mounts on the screen. When that component mounts.
So,
okay.
So can you come again? I'm very sorry.
Okay. So I said when you put a dependency, this is a dependency. Inside this array like this is an array of dependency. When you put a dependency here like this, The code
Yes.
inside this UseEffect will run when the component mounts on the screen. One, it will also run when the value of this dependency changes. So if this user
Yes.
ID should change, then the code here will run again. Do you understand, sir?
Okay.
So instead of this being 1, I can now say user ID, change it to backtick, change it backtick. Okay? So we have this here, like this. So let's go to the browser and see our results. So the reason you have that is because, remember I said it will run immediately it mounts on the screen. So immediately it loads on the screen, remember the user ID is 1 by default.
Yes.
So immediately it mounts on the screen, it will quickly do this. Make a request to that URI using that one. User ID will be 1. It will fetch the first user and it will set it. Now, if for any reason the value of this user ID should change, then it will make this request again. It will run all the codes here again. So let's try to change the value now. So let's change it to 2. You see, once you see that's made another request. Let's change it to 3, another request 4, that made another request 5, another request.
Wow.
So when the value changes, it will make a request to that URL
And fetch the data.
Yes, so it is monitoring this user ID. Any question? So we've stated 2 things now. I want to ask a question, and you will tell me the answer.
Okay, boss.
Okay. Okay, look at this. There's a dependency here. Now, my question is this. There's no dependency here. Do you understand? Do you get it, sir? There's a dependency here. There's no dependency here. So my question is, if I run this page on the browser now, what will I see in my console? Immediately I go to the browser now and I check it, what will I see in my console?
Okay. So firstly, I want to understand the question. From here now, you created 2 UseEffects.
Yes.
Yes. The first one you put a dependency which is empty array. Then the second one too, you put a dependency that has states.
Okay.
Okay. Okay. So I wait to so I think we will see I.
Okay. Now, this one I want to point out. I will see hello, and I also see I. When I run it for the very first time, it will do whatever is inside it. Since this is an empty array, so immediately the component mounts on the screen, it will do this. And also, it will also do this one when the component mounts on the screen also. Do you understand? The only thing is that if user ID should change, this one will run again. But if user ID should change, this one will not run. Do you understand the difference?
Okay. But why is it that the first thing I will see on the screen is hello?
Because
Why not I?
code runs from the top to the bottom.
Oh. Total on you.
So if you first do this, then do this. Now, if I now change the value of this user ID afterwards, then it will only do this one. Oh, sorry. It will only do this second one. It's not going to do the first one again now. This will only run once. The first one will only run once. But this one will keep running once user ID changes. Do you get the difference?
Okay.
Any question?
Mm, okay. So the question I want to answer is this. Okay. Okay. So you said that for the user ID, after we see hello and hi, then you now say that if this user ID should changes,
Yes.
the the component will will render again.
This part alone. This part. Not the first one now. What I mean is, let's go to the terminal and see the result. To the browser and see the result.
So I understand what you are saying.
Okay. So initially, you see LOI. Now, well, it's displaying it twice. It's at the developmental purpose, it's normal. It's normal for it to display it twice. We'll talk about that. But at the initial part, we see LO, we see I. But when this value changes now, let me go to the terminal. You see, it's only running I.
Yes. Okay. 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 That. Okay. Okay.
Let's refresh again. At the initial part, it's displaying the two.
So why is it not displaying LU and I twice at the initial part?
I think starting from React 18, they made some changes to React.
Okay. Okay.
So
Okay.
that's it
So I
renders
don't.
it twice because of this line.
Okay. Okay. On switch mode.
If I remove them, it will only run it once.
Okay. Ah.
But don't
So.
remove them. Don't remove them. It's only at developmental level. At production level, it works normally.
Oh, okay. Okay. So you really know this thing, oh?
Thank you.
Wow. Wow.
So let's move on with. Do you understand it? Do you have any questions so far, sir?
No. 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 I understand it was.
Okay. So that's the difference between putting a dependency here and not putting a dependency here.
Yes.
So let's go back to what we were doing. I think I will comment this part now. Then I will remove this one. Okay. So later the page loads, it will run this. And also when the value changes also, it will do that. I think we've done that one. Okay. The next thing we are going to now is, now let's look at a little problem that we may encounter. Now, I'll be typing here. Do you notice how this thing is trying to fetch it? Now, this is not good. Really, it's not good. In fact, you shouldn't be making a request to the server as user types in an input. You shouldn't. You shouldn't. You shouldn't. So we're going to look, okay.
So I say what now?
You shouldn't be making a request to the server as the user types in an input. You know, as the user is typing, we are making requests to the server.
Yes.
It
Yes.
shouldn't be. Now, we are going to find a solution to this now. But before we go into this solution, we are going to look at the third purpose of UseEffect. When we are done looking at, or the third thing you can do with UseEffect. When we are done with that third thing, we will now see how we can now make use of it to solve the problem at hand. Do you understand?
So this problem that you just show me now.
Yes, sir.
Okay, boss. Okay, boss.
Okay. So we want to first look at the third purpose of UseEffect. Then when we are done looking at it, we now see how we can now use it to solve this problem at hand. Well, maybe it's not a big deal presently. But based on what you are doing, it's not a big deal to make a request, but it's not just a good practice for you to make a request to your server as the user types in an input like this. Okay. So we're going to look at the top purpose of UseEffect. We use it for we make use of UseEffect for clean up. UseEffect can also be used for cleanups. What does that mean? We bring in a child component. I think I have an empty component here called comp. So let's make use of it. Let's bring in comp. So I think
So what do you mean by cleanup?
That's what we want to look at now. Where is comp? It's not important it's for me. Why? What's going on? I think something is wrong inside this comp.js. Let me check. It's fine, everything is fine here. I expect it to have import it from me. It's not important. Let me import it manually then. I don't know why it's not. Okay. So let's go to the browser and see the results. Hello world. We do this a plot, let's pass a plot down to it. So I can pass. Okay, I will remove all of these things for now. Comments, this, comments, even this, everything on the screen. In fact, comments, this and this too. We are coming back to all of these things. Then, so here we're going to have two states. Let's maybe let's say name, set name equals to this state. The default name can be Taye. Let's age, set age, use state. The default age can be 10. So we're going to pass this age and name down. Let's pass them down. Name equals to name.
No.
Then, see me using comma.
There's no comma.
Age equals to, how am I making this mistake? So we're passing this two down.
As prof.
As props, yes, as props down like this. Then let's receive them here. So we can say
You can discussion them.
Name, age. So inside this place, we may not even use age. Okay, yeah. For now, let's just remove age.
Okay.
Let's only pass down name. Then I can now say my name is Taye. My name is name, like this. So let's see it on the browser. We have this. Let's add a button to increase the value of the h. So here is a button. Increase h. So we come here and say and click. We want you to increase the value of h by 1. So we say set h previous return previous plus 1.
Okay.
So this is going to add 1 to the value of h.
Age.
Oh, let's display the h here so that we can see the h also. H. Okay. Good. So what we want to do is this. We add another button to reduce the value of h. Reduce h. So this will increase and this will
Decrease.
Okay. Let's now come to this component and say, as long as this component, like when you render this component on the screen, when it renders, maybe I can say UseEffect. Sorry. And so when it renders on the screen the first time, just ConsoleLog I am comp component. I am comp component. So you see it here. I am comp component. Then we will now say display these components or render these components if the value of age, let's say if it's less than 15, render this component. But once it's more than 15, like 15 and above, don't. Did you get it?
Yes, boss.
Remove it on the page if it's 15 and above. But if it's less than, display it. But 15 and above, don't display it. So of course you can use your ternary operator to do that.
Yes, yes.
So you can say if age, if it's less than 15, then display this component. Else,
Yes.
you can just say display null or something like this. Oh, sorry, question mark. So if age is less than 15, display it. But 15 and above, it will not display it. So let's go to the browser and see if it's working. It's 10, it's still displaying it, but once it's up to 15, you see it has removed it.
Yes.
Once it's less than 15 again, it will bring it back.
Wow.
Now this is where we are now going to. There's something I called cleanup.
Yes.
So the UseEffect can also be used for cleanup. That is, whenever you're about to remove a component from the screen, once this condition is true, it will display this. When the condition is false, it will remove the components from the screen. Do you understand?
Yes.
So whenever you're about to unmount, we call that unmounting. When you're about to remove a component from the display screen, from the screen, we call that unmount.
Okay.
So whenever you're about to unmount, you may want to do something. Do you get it?
Yes, boss.
Whenever you're about to remove a component from the screen, you may want to do something inside that component. So what you can do here is this. You can also use effects. Now, this use effect now can now return a value. Once your use effect, once it returns a value, what you are telling React is that whenever this component is about to be unmounted, then run the codes inside the use effect, inside that return value. I come again. Whenever you put a return value here, now your use effect will return a function. Hello, sir. Sorry.
Hello, boss.
Sorry, a call came in on my
I
phone.
can hear you.
Yes, I understand. I'm sorry, sir. And the call came in on my phone. I had to drop it immediately.
Okay, boss.
Yes, sir. Okay. Sorry. Okay. Let's move on.
Okay, sir.
So you see this return.
We are talking about return.
Yeah. You are returning a function now. Whenever your use effect returns a function like this, what you are telling React is that whenever this component is about to be unmounted, whenever it's about to be removed from the screen,
yes,
then you should run the codes inside this return. Do you get it?
Yes, boss.
Okay. So I will okay.
Boss, sir.
Yes, sir.
So how can you remove a component from the screen? I don't understand that part.
That's what you are doing here. Once this condition is not so, it will remove these components from the screen. Okay. Once this condition is true, this comp component will be displayed, Abby.
Yes.
Once it is false, it's not going to display. This null will be displayed instead.
Yes.
Aha. So it means we've removed this comp from the screen.
Okay. That's what you mean by that.
Yes, we are unmounting it.
Okay.
So whenever you're about to unmount this component, it will run the codes here. Show you. inside this return. Any code about one return, this code inside this return, it will run it whenever you're about to unmount it. So we can now come here and just do it, say return a function like this and say ConsoleLog, hey, I am about to be removed. So you get it?
Yes.
So whenever you're about to unmount it, it will run this code. So let's go to the browser and see the results. I will refresh. Now, I will increase it. Come on. Increase. Notice when it's moving from 14 to 15. Now, it wants to move from 14 to 15, meaning the components will be removed. Just notice what happens. Can you see this? I'm about to be removed.
Okay. Yeah.
It will quickly run this before it is being removed. Now, whenever you're about to bring it back to the screen, it will run this part. Whenever you are rendering it again, whenever you are mounting it, it will run it. Since this is empty, it will run this. But whenever you're about to remove it, it will run this. Do you understand it?
Yes, boss.
Okay. So I will reduce it so that it will bring the components back to the screen.
Yes.
You see, we have this. Why is it now running twice? Okay, I think that's what we discussed about the other time, the state mode.
Yes,
Okay.
yes.
So once I increase it again, it will remove it.
Wow.
Do you get it?
Yes, boss.
Yes,
sir.
Okay, sir.
Size this process clean up.
Yes, this is called cleaning up.
Oh, okay.
You are cleaning up.
This return.
Yes.
This console. Okay.
Whenever you're about to mount a component, you may want to clean up some things.
Okay. Wow. So I can hear you.
Okay. Check out the Siwaju.
Yes, boss.
Okay. Now, let's come to this app.js now and see how we can now make use of this to make our application better. So I just explained how to use this, but I will remove this component and everything. I'll just remove it and return our application back to the state it was the other time. So for now, we are not using this. I think I can remove it now. I can remove this. Okay. So this is the states we under this. Okay. Now I said it's not good to be making a request, right? As you are typing here, right?
Yes, boss. Okay. Like this.
Yeah. So what we can do is this. What is the function of SetTimeouts?
Hello, boss. Say what?
I said, what is the function of SetTimeouts?
SetTimeouts. So the function of SetTimeouts is to delay a code.
Good. Is to delay a code. We can now say, as you are as this changes, instead of calling this immediately, we may delay this call a bit. I come again. You know, presently, when user ID changes, it will do this, right?
Yes.
So we can now say, instead of doing it as it changes, we can delay it a bit, maybe for a minute, depending on how long we want to delay it. I would talk about the significance of that. But let's first look at how we can delay it a bit.
Okay.
So we just say set timeout. Set timeout. It takes a callback.
Yes.
Then and the time. So delay the code inside this for
1 second.
1 second. Good. So what we're going to do here is we just call this one out of this place and put it here. So it's to delay this function calling by 1 second. You understand it? Okay.
Yes.
So let's see how that impacts our page now. So whenever I type anything here, it will delay it for 1 second before running it. Do you see do you notice the delay?
Yes. I'm seeing it now.
Okay. Good. So it's delaying it for 1 second, but that's not where we are going to. We can now say that save this set timeout. What is the function of ClearTimeouts?
ClearTimeouts.
Yes.
So I'm just hearing that for the first time. Though I know it's JavaScript, but
okay. ClearTimeout is used to unset a timeout. Set timeout will set it. ClearTimeout will unset it. It will remove the set timeout.
Okay.
So we can now save this as a variable. I can call this variable timeout, or I can just call it any name of my choice.
Okay.
Let's use camel person equals to this. So I'm saving this whole set timeout as timeout. Now I will now say return. Now let's go into what happens here. You see this has a dependency, right?
Yes, boss.
So when this value changes, it will run the codes here, right?
Yes, boss.
But not just that alone. Once the value changes, it will run all of these codes. But if the value should change again, it will first run this before running this. Oh, it sounds confusing, I know. Okay, you understand what you are doing now. I will remove, let me just comment out everything so that you just see two things now. Here, I will say ConsoleLog first. And here, I will say ConsoleLog second. Now remember, this has a dependency, right?
Yeah. Yes, boss. Yes, boss.
Meaning, when the page loads the first time, it will run the codes inside your UseEffect.
Yes.
If this user ID should change also, it will still run the code inside your UseEffect. Abi?
Yes.
Let me bring them close to each other so that it becomes easier instead of navigating up and down. So when this user ID changes, it will run this code. When it changes again, it will run this code. When it changes again, it will run the code. Oh, no, like that. Which one
Yes.
But now, what's now the significance of this part? Remember I said it is meant for clean up.
Yes.
What happens is this. When the page loads the first time,
yes,
it
boss.
will run this here, and that will be all. Sure, and get error. Hello?
Yes, boss.
Now, when this user ID changes, it will first run this return. When it's done running it, then it will now do this. If the user ID should change again, it will first do this, then do this. If this should change again, it will first do this. I'll call it cleanup. It will first clean up the mess of the last one before running the new one. It will first clean up, it will run the code, it will first clean up the mess. Whatever mess might have been caused initially, it will first run all the codes here, trying to clean up the mess that might have occurred initially. When it's done, it will now run a new one. Do you get it?
Yes, boss.
So whenever user ID changes, the first thing it does is it will run this. When it is now done running it, then it will now run this and stop. If the user ID should change again, it will first run this, When it's done, it will now run this. Do you get how this works now?
Yes, boss.
Let's see it on the browser. Okay, let's go.
Okay.
You see second before first. Do you notice? Second before first. It's the first clean up the mess. It's the first one that return before running the other one.
The other one.
Do you see how it works now?
Wow.
So we can now take advantage of this here. We can now say clear timeouts. So let's see what this is going to do for us. When you look on the page the first time, when you run it on the browser, it will run the code inside this UseEffect tab.
Yes, boss.
When it is done running, I'll stop. Now, whenever this user ID changes, when you load it the first time, it will run the code here. But on getting to this place, it will delay the code by 1 second. Now.
Yes, boss.
My delay code by 1 second. So after 1 second, it will now call on this function. Happy? That's straightforward.
Yes, boss.
Okay. Now, if I now change the value of this user ID, it will first clear this timeout. I'll call clear mess. It will first remove this timeout. Do you get it? I'll call clear timeout in here. It will clear the timeout, then it will now run another one again. I'll watch it run delay and set another timeout. When you change this again, it will first clear the timeouts, then run another code. After set another one. So each time the value changes, it first clear the previous one, then run another one. If the value should change, clear another one, run another one. Now that means, remember, 1 second, we are delaying this code for 1 second.
Yes.
That means if I type, let's say I type 3 times within 1 second. If I change the value of this user ID 3 times within a second, what it's going to do is this. The first time I type, or the first time I change the value of user, remember, I'm changing the value of user ID 3 times within 1 second. What do I mean? Let's say I type here. I've changed the value of this many times. Do you understand what is happening now? Are you following? Hello? Hello?
Yes, boss.
What I'm doing is this. I'm changing the value of that user ID. I've changed it about 3 times now, just within a second. I've changed it. So the first time, just say, let's say I type 456. We'll type 456 in less than 1 second. Abi? Hello?
Hi.
Shoti, you are not saying anything. Are you confused?
No, sir.
Okay. So
I'm just trying to assimilate what you are saying.
Okay. Thank God the class is being recorded.
Yes, boss.
So what we are doing is we are changing the value of, whatever you type here, whenever you type anything here, the value of the user ID changes.
Oh, yes.
So what you are doing here is this. If I type, let's say 3 numbers within a second. Now, I type these 4 numbers all in less than 1 second. Abi?
Yes, boss.
So let's see how React will process this. When I type the first one, 5, I first typed 5. What React will do is this. Immediately this user ID changes, it will clear the timeout. Then it will now run the codes here. Shall I understand?
Yes, boss.
So remember, this will delay the code by 1 second.
Yes.
Within that 1 second, tapping delay, within that 1 second, I typed another 5 again. So that means it wouldn't have called this function because it's within that 1 second. It's we are saying delay the code by 1 second. So within that 1 second, it hasn't called this call data. When I typed another 5 again, do you get it?
Yes, bro.
So immediately I typed another 5. Remember, this user ID will change, Abby. Whenever you type anything here, user ID changes. That's what we have here now, Shebi. Can you remember?
Yes,
On
I
input.
remember, boss.
So whenever I type anything within that 1 second, this user ID will change.
Yes, boss.
Immediately the user ID changes, it will first run this. And inside this place, we have clear timeout, meaning it will clear the timeout. Remember, it hasn't fetched this. It's yet to fetch this. Because all of this is within a second. All of this I'm saying happened in less than 1 second. We are saying delay the code by 1 second. So within that 1 second, it sees it's going to read this clear timeout. This clear timeout means destroy this timeout. So it will destroy this. It's not going to fetch this again. It will stop it. Then it will now try to make another request again with the new value. Now, if I type another number again within that 1 second, like within a second again, it will first run this. It will clear the timeout, meaning it will terminate this again. It's not going to run this. It will terminate this again, and then it will run afresh. Then when I type the fourth value, which is 6, it will first run this, meaning it will first terminate the last timeout. When it's done terminating it, then it will now run all of this again. I come again. Now, what we are doing is we are using it for cleanup. When I type anything, let's say I type 1, 2, 3. You see, unlike before, that might be next one. Now it's not even bringing the next one. That's because we keep destroying it. So now, except if you're able to wait for 1 second. If you wait for a full 1 second, that's when it will now fetch it. But if within that 1 second, I change the value of user ID again, it will terminate the previous one and make another call, a fresh call entirely. It will make a fresh call. Ṣé ìbéèrè wà? Question. Any question? Oh, is there no question?
Yes, boss.
Okay. Go and watch the recordings of this class. Let's stop the class at this point. So go and watch the recordings of this class. Next class, we'll quickly revise it before we go to a new topic.
Yes, boss. I'm even doing that now. Boss,
Yes, sir.
concerning your